Yay!
Hi,
Can
we
you?
did it.
Oh my God, you look so beautiful. So, can you turn your phone a little bit? Sideways, just because afterwards I'm going perfect because the format for YouTube it has to be sideways.
Okay. Okay,
What I
how's that?
got it.
Perfect. You look beautiful.
So do you. Hello, everyone. So today I'm going to speak with my dear friend, yoga teacher Nina Hayes. Nina and I took a yoga teacher training at the same school, Jivamukti, back in the day. And nowadays, Nina is a spiritual coach. So she teaches people how to do yoga off the mat. And the way she does that is through yogic wisdom, yoga retreats, and conscious eating, facilitating lasting transformation into your daily life. Hi, Nina. I'm so glad to have you here.
Hi, Vivian. I'm so happy to be here and connect with you. Like you said, after all these years, we're still doing our thing and sharing in like a bigger way.
Exactly.
So
Nina,
thank you.
Nina is talking to us from, I'm in Los Angeles, and Nina is talking to us from Tulum,
Yes.
right? So, Nina, why don't we just start by talking a little bit about what was your journey that brought you to wellness? And, you
Um,
can get as personal as you want. I know that you've had a lot going on that brought you into wellness, and whatever you're comfortable talking about and sharing.
yeah, thank you. I, like many people that come to yoga and spiritual practices, I came to it through a path of adversity. That's the word. Um, I had been practicing yoga for some years, in starting in high school, and I was more into the asana, the physical postures. For those who don't speak yoga, and that was a beautiful opening for me into the spiritual realm. But then I came down with a life-threatening illness that required, I think I stopped counting at 20 major surgeries. And during that kind of, dark period and like dark night of the soul, my guiding light and path was really the scriptural teachings of yoga and how to use things like meditation to calm myself before a big surgery, how to use mantra and chanting when I was having like a painful medical test. Um, and then also, like you said, learning conscious eating and applying those principles of yogic eating um, to my daily life, because there was one point in my life, and that point lasted years, where I couldn't consume anything more than water and baby food because I had a severe, digestive disorder. I won't go into the full depth of that, but happy to talk about it with people offline. It's just a long story, but that it was a really extreme disorder, and I couldn't really keep any food down. So just learning conscious eating and how to reintegrate healthy food into my life, when at one point food really became something that caused a lot of suffering for me. So to find joy in it through joyful eating, and I like to call it food sadhana. And yoga, Sanskrit, the language of yoga, sadhana is the word for conscious spiritual practice. So whether or not you have a digestive disease like me, or maybe you just you want to like learn to make eating something that can be a spiritual experience, I like to help people and kind of give them tips and tricks to make your meal a conscious spiritual practice, because we don't all have the luxury to. I know Vivian has two children. She has a dedicated physical practice, but we don't always have the luxury to do that. So sometimes your yoga practice could be cooking your dinner. So that's a little bit. I hope that kind of answers the question without going way off track.
Yeah. And the thought of seeing the body as your temple, I think it's pretty much explains like So what would you, if your body was your temple, how would you treat it? Right? What kind of food would you eat? Exercise, meditation, people you would bring into your life. There's so many things, right? That if you start looking at yourself, instead of looking for something out there, but see yourself as this special being that deserves to be taken care of.
Yeah, that's the term self-love is kind of thrown about very casually. And I think it's important, though, to understand the term deeply and to, like you said, to treat your body as a temple and not in a vain way or not in a way that's overindulgent, but to treat your body in such a way that you're honoring the divinity of your being. You're honoring like that God part in you. And in order to help others, as we often see in Jivamukti, you know, we do our best to uplift our own lives, to uplift the lives of others. You really need to be at your best health. So I try to, you know, we all have our bad days when we're not as conscious. But before I prepare a meal or eat something, I say, you know, how is this going to uplift my vibration so that I can be of service to others? And you could kind of say that with a lot of things, like you mentioned, like the company you keep, you know, kind of asking yourself, is this situation or spending time with this group of people or even consuming this type of media, is it going to bring me closer or further from enlightenment? I mean, that's kind of such a lofty term, so maybe just my best self, but whatever is going to bring you there.
And especially during the pandemic, that we spend so much time at home with ourselves or TV and all of that. So
yeah, 100%. I think the pandemic was hard for most people in very different ways. And even though I really like to teach these practices of, like, you know, the nourishing eating and, you know, uplifted company, at the same time, I'm cautious for people to be overly judgmental with themselves, because I leaned into some behaviors that weren't uplifting, but, you know, I was trying to adjust to the pandemic. So, you know, maybe we were eating too many cookies, drinking too much alcohol. Maybe we just threw exercise out the door because we were like, what's the point? You know, maybe we were too distracted and stressed to meditate. And that's fine. You know, we forgive ourselves and we start again. But I feel like the more the more I practice what I teach and teach what I practice, the quicker I go back to baseline. So earlier in my yoga practice, maybe you relate, you know, I would get off track and then I would stay off track for weeks, months. Now I get off track, I let it go, and then I go back to the practices.
Yeah. And then I also read something in your website about embracing light and the dark, you know, the opposites. And just, you know, instead of just, like you said, you slip up and then, okay, pick right back up. And instead of just, oh, I don't like that part of me, and push it away, right?
Yeah.
But embracing it.
That's been, I mean, it's the only thing that makes sense to me. So that's why I share it. Thank you for reading my website so carefully. I feel like I'll call it the positive psychology movement, I suppose. I think it's done a lot to help people with, you know, being grateful and gratitude practices and looking on the bright side. But the danger in that is there's a sense that we need to be happy all the time and in the light all the time.
Right.
And that's not reality. And I don't even think it's a goal, because I mean, I'll use the word God, but you can use spirit, you can use universe, whatever. But like God holds the light and the dark and embraces everything, in love and abundance. So for us to say something is bad, you know, or good, it's really those dark and the light aspects of our being, and learning to allow those to dovetail, and learning that, you know, some of these cliches are quite brilliant. Like, you only know the day because of the night. So in order to experience happiness and joy, we need to also understand and feel pain, feel suffering without judgment, and without feeling like it's a part of us that needs to be excommunicated in some way. You know, to just embrace it and see it as part of like the human condition and part of growing and learning, and just being on our journey. I think
Right.
the goal for me is learning from my experiences, whether they're dark experiences, whether they're light experiences, as long as I feel like I'm growing in order to uplift my life and to be of service to others, that's all that matters to me.
Right. Also, I think those challenging times are part of what we're talking about, lasting transformation to get
Mm-hmm.
right. We're constantly changing.
Yeah, I mean, I think I know we've both had our trials. Like Vivian and I have, you know, gone through different things, but we've had our trials, and I don't know anyone, including us, that says like, I wish it never happened. We usually say like it was really tough, but I'm grateful for X experience because it taught me this, and this. I mean, it, we don't really learn as humans. It's part of the human
Yeah,
stubbornness. We don't learn through.
it's like you can read on a book, but ultimately it has to be experiential, right? Your body,
Yes.
experience, all of that.
Yes.
You can read in yoga books, like all those things, but it's like until you have some experience in your life, it's hard. And so with that, I wanted to ask you, but habits are very hard to break. So that's why sometimes I feel that yoga retreats are a great place to starting new habits, right?
Yes.
So can
I'm
you
so
talk a
glad you
little bit
brought that
about
up.
like about yoga retreats and how that helps people starting new habits and learning new habits?
Yeah, I mean, that's one reason I go on retreats. That's why I hold retreats, because if it's like you said, it's so difficult to start a habit, then when you're first starting a habit, you want to make it as easy as possible on yourself. So in the context of a yoga retreat, you're going to be with a group of people that are also into starting these habits. You're going to have maybe even your food prepared, so you're not going to be tempted to eat, I don't know, Domino's pizza. You'll be eating organic salads and whatever, nourishing grains instead. And then you're going to have a schedule. We call it satsang in yoga. It's like the word means like attaching to truth. So it's easier to attach to truth when it's like planned out for you with other people that are interested in the same truth. Um, the analogy I like to make is like, you know, if you were growing a tree, like my friend planted all these trees in Tulum, and they're really, they're at a stage where they could be eaten by bugs or trampled on by an animal or a person. So he builds like these little like circles around them and like a structure to protect it. And then when it's strong and established, then, you know, the fence is down, it's going to be okay. It's going to be established in that habit. We're not very different, you know, and still until we're established in a habit and until it's easy for us, I wouldn't make our job any harder by like trying to do it in a difficult situation. Once it's
Right.
easy, you can introduce the difficulties, you know?
Yeah, it's like kids. They're learning and then they need that nourishment and as they get older, they become stronger in what we teach them. So,
Yeah.
um, and so the other thing I want to talk to you about is because I feel that there are so many diets, crazy, miraculous diets out there. And that's the other thing. I believe that if you do like, oh yeah, I want to get in shape, or like I'm not healthy, so let me just do this crazy 1 week like diet where I don't eat anything or just drink water, and I don't know, personally I don't believe in that. I think that it's creating healthy habits, and so that comes in conscious eating that you were talking about, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of like the diet trends are motivated by short-term solutions and like for profit. If we go back to some of the spiritual traditions, such as yoga, I mean, yoga is union. It's like joining opposites, the sun and the moon. So we're looking for balance in our diet, as with everything. And if you look to the Buddhist tradition, it's about the middle path. It's not about eating one food group. It's not about 10-day fast. I mean, there are spiritual reasons for something like fasting, and they can
Right.
be integrated into a healthy diet plan. But a lot of that stuff, yeah, like you said, it's trendy. Um, and
It's not
much is
lasting.
help. What's that?
It's not lasting.
It's not lasting. And I think with what I teach is intuitive eating, it's really listening to your body, which it's that's a habit you need to cultivate, because there's so much static, I would call it. Statics being, for example, everyone should eat keto, okay? Or the other
Like raw
static is
diet, right?
raw. I mean, or the other, maybe some static is like a lot of advertisement trying to tempt you with processed foods. And it's really hard to tune into what your body needs with all of this noise. So simple stuff like before you sit down to make a meal, before you sit down to choose what you're going to eat at a restaurant, maybe just take like 5 breaths and just like literally tune in and say like, what do I want? What does my body want? And the intuitive eating, it's a practice of nourishing the physical body, but it's also a practice of nourishing the spiritual and emotional body. We have these layers in the yogic model. And there's food not just for the physical body. So sometimes I think with the diet culture that we're embedded in, people forgot that we eat for joy too. So, maybe one day, you're integrating, you're having a part of your meal for your body, then you're having a part because you love it. And all of this is part of like Buddha's middle path. It's part of yogic balance. And it's all about honesty with yourself.
And I feel that for me, more I listen to my body. Sometimes I'll be in the supermarket and looking at produce, and I just feel like grabbing certain kind of vegetables one day and different than other days. It's like my body talking to me and say, "Oh, you need this." You start. It's like a healthy craving.
Yes. Yeah, it does. Sometimes I do advise people to like simplify their diet, not in an overly strict way, but simplify it a little bit to kind of whole foods. Because when you have that sort of a relatively cleaner diet, then your body does get quite smart, and it will say like, you need broccoli.
Yeah.
And usually it's picking up on maybe like a very subtle deficiency, because we could get all the labs, and I've gone that route, allergy testing, blood labs. They're
Mm-hmm.
not very accurate, and then you end up. I had a list of foods which basically left me eating, you know, broccoli, and I don't know what it was at that point, but I couldn't eat coconut, cashews, cherries. Like it was so restrictive and it didn't even work, you know? So tuning in like you do, I probably look like a crazy person. Sometimes I'll be in like the farmer's market, or if I'm in LA, you know, Whole Foods or Erewhon, and I will put my hands out like, like I sometimes, I know it's weird. Like it might, some people will relate, other people maybe not relate, but you can kind of gravitate to what your body.
Energy, yeah.
Yeah, everything has energy.
So Nina, why don't you tell us a little bit of the, like in a practical way, somebody comes to you to look for spiritual coaching. What, you know, explain a little bit about that. So people are thinking like, oh, I would like to do this kind of work with Nina.
Yeah, well, I guess kind of the impetus for starting this spiritual coaching was I love teaching vinyasa classes. Like I love, love, love. I love practicing it. I will always love and do that. But, and some of the really magical moments happened after class when students were open, receptive, and they would come up to me with like life stuff. And they were like, can I get your advice on, you know, a difficulty I'm having with work, or an issue I'm having with a partner or a friend, or just anxiety, stress. So that evolved, and I was like, oh, like this is like spiritual coaching. And I just saw people transform when they were able to take their yoga off the mat. So that's what it's all about. It's about taking your yoga off the mat and making it practical and not so, I mean, like Vivian and I studied a lot of the scriptures. That was part of our training. We love that. Maybe you do, but you don't have to. I want to make this like applicable to everyone. Like my grandmother who doesn't know a thing about yoga, my mom, you know, the girl on the street, just everyone. So it's kind of like my mission to make it super practical. And then the other point I really am so called to speak to is teaching people that they are their own teacher or their own guru. Guru is the word for remover of darkness. And so when we're suffering and lonely and lost, we can seek the guidance of others excessively, and we can almost like outsource our will. And you can never submit your will to someone else's opinion. So I don't want to be looked at as like a guru. No, of course not. Like I'm not a guru. Didn't Tony Robbins have that movie? I'm not your guru. I'm not your guru. You are your guru, but like you need someone that's objective, and you need a teacher. It could be anyone, you know.
Like more like a guidance, but not like telling you what to do exactly, right? Because ultimately we want people to have their independence as
yeah, I mean
the
ultimate compliment is when someone truly doesn't need you anymore. Right? When they're like, oh, okay. I mean, it depends where people are in their path. People could need a spiritual coach for 10 years. They could need a spiritual coach for 10 days. You know, typically it's not as short as 10 days, but we want like, I want this stuff. And even as a lot of yoga teachers, yeah, we want our students to surpass us. We want them to become their own gurus, because it's not just what we want, it's the truth. No teacher is really giving you anything. They are helping you uncover your own inner wisdom and helping you reveal what's already there. So I do that, like you said, with the food sadhana. I do that with relationship management, career advice, stress, depression. I have a subspecialty. It's called the other Instagram account, if anyone's curious. It's at Ostomy Coaching, Ostomy Coaching. And that's a specific program. I do spiritual coaching for women with ostomies, which is like a medical device some of you may know about. And yeah, it's just really empowering people instead of making them dependent, because yoga's taught us so much, but it's also taught us in the modern world that we need to be very discriminating with whom we choose as a teacher, because there's been some abuse, and I want to really be an advocate against that type of abuse by empowering people to be their own guru.
Yeah, and also I think it's important to, when you go into difficulties, you don't have to go out there and ask like a million people for advice, but also in the midst of that is also important to sit with it and learning how to meditate in the suffering and see what that is bringing out and what's the, right? Because I feel like it's very hard for people sometimes to sit with it. So they just like, they want to, I need noise, or I don't want to feel it. And it's so important to feel it.
That's such an amazing point. I'm definitely, when I am insecure, anxious, or depressed, I know that my tendency will be to call people, ask for opinions. But because I know that about myself, I know, okay, no, you need to sit with that, like you're saying, because there's a lesson in that. And if you outsource that too quickly, then, you know, the lesson won't be learned.
Right.
So
and then you're going to have to go through that again until you learn. Basically.
Yeah, that's usually the way it happens. I mean, I think it's important to do the work on your own, but also to have a guide that's been there, because I'm able to do the work and do the meditation because I have been blessed, like you, with some of the best teachers and coaches. Like, I don't even know where they came from. You know, we have our Jiva Mukti lineage. Yogeshwara, Joshua Green is one of my greatest teachers. My former therapist, you know, it's not all yoga.
Exactly. There are many ways to have, like,
my ballet teacher.
Gurus come in all ways, right? Gurus who come in all forms. The people right next to you. I feel like nowadays my biggest gurus are my kids. I mean, I learned the pure meaning of love through them.
Yeah, that's.
And so it comes in many forms, gurus.
It keeps us humble to realize that some of I mean, I've had like traditional, like I mentioned, traditional spiritual teachers, but some of my greatest spiritual teachers have not been. They don't consider themselves spiritual, you know. So
or even the adversities that we have in life are gurus.
Yeah, I would say my biggest guru is my biggest guru is my chronic illness and all that has taught me. And I've had great physical human teachers. So I think for those who want to continue on the path of like spiritual growth or self-actualization, choose your term, it's important to do the work yourself, but have good teachers, because the things we're talking about, I don't know if the majority of the world values. So you need people that are going to hold you accountable, I think is a big thing for me. I recently got a business coach business coaches, because I needed the accountability for business, and that wasn't a natural thing to me. So it's like, being humble enough to ask for help. I tried to do everything on my own for like decades, and I was like, oh my God, if I was meant to do everything on my own, there would not be other humans on the planet. It would just be like me and me. So
and I think the pandemic really came to show how much we need each other.
Yeah.
Like you know, there were a lot of negatives, of course, but one of the things that I think might have been positive is that like how much we need each other. We're not an island.
Maybe that was the meaning of it. You know, like we kind of started earlier saying about the dark and the light. Perhaps we need to remember that that wasn't a bad time. The pandemic was a darker time to bring us towards into a new light, that like we do need connection. We need connection that really nourishes us physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And I think it was easier prior to the pandemic, like you were saying, Vivian, just to numb ourselves out and distract ourselves and just go. I think it's a magpie, these birds, they just go to shiny objects. And I think prior to the pandemic, you could just, oh, you know, say, bad day, I'm going to just go out for cocktails. Bad day, I'm going to go to a movie. I'm going to go, even something healthy, if you're using it to numb out, is not great. Like maybe you're just like, I'm going to go to Soul Cycle because I don't want to be in the present moment. Right. So the pandemic forced us to just kind of like sit with ourselves, and some of us.
And look.
Yeah, and like I saw things I didn't want to see. Yes, you're like.
What was kind of like under the rug we didn't want to look at. Nina, thank you so much. I love you.
Thank you for letting me share. And thank you everyone that listened in.
Nina, so if people want to reach out to do spiritual work with you, yoga retreats, they can go on your Instagram.
Yeah, there's so right now I'm doing one-to-one spiritual coaching. You can go to at Nina Hayes Mission, and then starting a list for the next Bali retreat, dates to be announced soon. So yeah, just shoot me, if you're interested in Bali, you can shoot me a flower, because that looks like Bali. Send me a DM with a flower and some thoughts if you want. And if you're interested in spiritual coaching, send me your favorite color heart, and then we'll find time to talk and see if it's aligned for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been a blessing. Love you.
Hope to see you very, very soon.
You will. Mwah.